Hey everyone, Mr. Macintosh here. In this video, I'm going to show you how to install macOS Big Sur on your older unsupported Mac using OpenCore Legacy Patcher. This is going to allow you to install newer applications, unlock Big Sur's new features, and install the latest Big Sur security updates to keep your older Mac secure. This is going to be an update to my previous videos that's going to go over all the changes and improvements OpenCore Legacy Patcher has gone through over the past year to make your installation easier than ever. I'm also going to go over why Big Sur might be a better option for you if you have a metal compatible Mac over macOS Monterey or Ventura in the future. We got a lot to cover. Let's jump in and get started. The patcher is always changing with improvements, so I always put in the description of this video an updates section to keep you informed with the latest information that you might need to know about before you get started. Plus, I put a detailed chapter section in so you can jump with one click right to the section that you would like to look at. First, let's go over some really important notes before we get started. Like I mentioned in the introduction of this video, there's been so many changes to OpenCore Legacy Patcher since my previous videos. So if you watched one of those and want to get updated with all the latest changes and features in OpenCore Legacy Patcher, give this video a watch and you'll be fully up to date. The next thing is I mentioned that there might be a reason why you want to install Big Sur over Monterey or Ventura in the future, and all has to do with metal compatibility. What is metal? Metal is a technology that helps with graphics acceleration. It also requires a metal compatible graphics card. So when we go back to the macOS Mojave requirements, all the Macs needed to have a metal compatible graphics card to be able to install macOS Mojave. And that was the big change that went from there forward. What that also means is that with OpenCore Legacy Patcher, if you install Big Sur and you have a metal compatible Mac, you do not have to install the graphics acceleration driver package on your Mac. That means that you can have a sealed system, so you can have smaller security updates. And it also means that applications like Maps, which is a metal heavy app, will work perfectly on your Big Sur Mac, but won't work on macOS Monterey or Ventura in the future. But there's also downsides. For example, the latest version of Xcode is not compatible with macOS Big Sur. So again, you got to weigh which one you want to be able to install. The next section is make sure you back up all your data. This is extremely important. I even recommend this to supported Macs installing a major macOS upgrade. You don't want to be one of those very small percentage of people that have the update come down and something goes wrong and you can't access your data for whatever reason. I also recommend two sources. So if you have it in iCloud, I would also recommend a Time Machine. If you only have Time Machine, I recommend having a USB hard drive or flash drive to be able to copy your files manually over. As long as you have that and something goes wrong, no big deal. You can always put your files back on your system. The next thing is that OpenCore Legacy Patcher is open source software. It is available for you to be able to look at and see all of the different pieces of OpenCore Legacy Patcher. If you go back to the GitHub, all the files are here and explanations about them in the guide show you what's being done. So it's nothing behind the scenes. It's all there for you to be able to look over. But with that said, it's unsupported by Apple. But on the other hand, Apple doesn't even support your older Mac anyway because it's marked as obsolete. The newer operating systems are unsupported on your Mac, and some would argue that installing macOS Big Sur or newer is even safer for your Mac because you're getting the latest security updates from Apple. I also put an update section in the description of this video that gives you the latest information of macOS Big Sur installers, plus updates to OpenCore Legacy Patcher. There's also a detailed chapter section so you can jump right to the section you would like to go to. I recommend a fresh erase and an install. You can try an upgrade, and I'm going to show you how to do that, but I recommend an erase and install because that has been the best path for people to take to have the best overall experience when they're installing Big Sur on an unsupported Mac. Use the comment section. If you're having any issues, put a comment down there and I can answer your question. Also, I put out OpenCore Legacy Patcher update videos. When a new version of OpenCore Legacy Patcher comes out, I will put a video out that will detail all of the changes in the updates and give you an explanation of what is new in that video. The bottom line is that I just walk you through the steps from the official OpenCore Legacy Patcher documentation guide. That is the heart of all this. The developers of OpenCore Legacy Patcher put this wonderful set of documentation together that is the official guide. Nothing else that you read on the internet is official except this website right here. So if you have any questions, you can go right to this site, and there's a lot of troubleshooting sections that you can go through to help you out. For the equipment that you're going to need, obviously you're going to need an unsupported Mac from 2008 to 2013. I also recommend that you have an SSD hard drive in your your Mac before beginning. You can try your old spinning hard drive that came stock if you have an older Mac, but the experience is not as good as when you have an SSD drive in there. I also recommend 8 gigabytes of RAM, but you can do it with 4 gigabytes, and I have plenty of machines with 4 gigabytes that runs just fine. Now, the other thing you're going to need is a 16 gigabytes or larger flash drive or external hard drive. I recommend USB 3.0 Plus to be able to have a fast installation and read-write speeds. And I also recommend that once you create that USB installer, keep it on hand just in case you need it for troubleshooting. Now, there's a final section down here that I have some OpenCore Legacy Patcher and Big Sur links that you might want to be able to visit. There's the Legacy Patcher page, there's the post-install volume patch information, there's the OpenCore Legacy Patcher Discord, the Mac Rumors Big Sur Unsupported Mac thread, and a full list of supported models for OpenCore Legacy Patcher. Our demonstration Mac today is a 2010 Mac Mini. It is 8 gigabytes of RAM that I upgraded from 4, and it also has an SSD drive that I upgraded from the spinning 320 gigabyte drive. So it's the perfect example of a machine that's upgraded and ready to go for macOS Big Sur. So the first thing we're going to need to get started is to download OpenCore's Legacy Patcher application. So let's go to our Safari application and we'll go to the OpenCore Legacy Patcher homepage, and then we can go right here to the GitHub. Once we're on the GitHub, we can go to the right-hand side to the releases section. You can get to the latest release by clicking right here. And then once you're here, you got to scroll down to look at the assets section. And you'll notice this has changed too, that all the extra pieces, the offline app, the TUI app, they're all gone. You only need now the OpenCore Patcher GUI app.zip. So let's click on it to download it. It's going to download right to your downloads folder here, and once it's done, it's going to jump up and down, and we'll be able to get in start, and we'll be able to install it to our applications folder. So while we're waiting here, let's open up our Macintosh hard drive by clicking on Finder or hard drive in the upper right-hand corner, and we'll click on our applications, and we'll be ready to drag it right on over when it's done downloading. Okay, it jumped up and down, it's done. Let's click on downloads, and you can see the OpenCore Legacy Patch zip unzipped and put it right into our downloads folder of the application. So let's take this here and drag it right into our applications folder, and there it is. Once it's moved over, all we need to do is double click on it to get started. It needs to verify first. Let's click on open. All right, we got OpenCore Legacy Patcher ready to go, and the next thing we're going to do is download macOS Big Sur. Now, in the past, you had to go download macOS Big Sur separately and create the USB installer separately. The best part is that it's all now integrated inside the application. You can download and create the USB installer right from the application. So let's click on Create macOS Installer right now. And then what we're going to do next is click on Download macOS Installer. And also there was an option there that if you had already downloaded a specific version, you can click that and navigate to the installation and use that instead. But we are going to download the latest version. And usually the latest version is at the very top of the application list. If you want to double check the latest version, you can always use my installer page here. I have every single macOS Big Sur installation download listed with the build version, and you'll always see the latest version at the top with the current date. In the future, there might be 11.6, 0.8, 9, 10, 11, 12, but it might stop at a certain point, and that's the last installation full installer from Apple, and you'll see this at the very top with a special note that this is the final installer. So now we're back to the download Mac installer list. We're going to click on the latest version right here, which is macOS at the time of this video, 11.6.7. And there it goes. So we're going to let this download here, but what we're going to do in the meantime while this is being created is we're going to set up our USB installer drive or external hard drive. Okay. Let's plug in our USB hard drive here, and it should show up right on the desktop when it loads. There it is. So now we can open up Disk Utility. Disk Utility is located in Applications/Utilities folder. So now you can see our internal hard drive. We're not going to touch that. We're looking for external. That's our USB hard drive. So what we want to do is we want to be able to see all of the volumes. So let's click on View and then click on Show All Devices. You can also access that here in the upper menu bar to show all devices. Now you can see the top level drive. Under External, let's click on the top level drive. The entire drive has to be erased before we begin. So if you have any data on here, make sure you get it off, especially if you have multiple partitions on here, like you have installers or data folders or whatever. Pull that data off before we do that because the entire drive is going to be erased. Now keep in mind, this is just an extra step to be able to make sure that the USB hard drive is prepared for when we do it here in the OpenCore Legacy Patcher app. So it's just an extra double check step to make sure it's ready to go for the formatting. We can click on Erase. Now, one thing you're going to need to see is that you need to see 3 sections here. If you only see name and format, that means you selected this one and you have to go back and select the top level. Then you'll see the scheme because it's really important. Sometimes the stores format the drives in master boot records, so we have to format it in GUID partition map. And then the name doesn't matter, and then the format can be macOS Extended Journal. And then we're ready to go. Let's click on Erase. There it is, it's done. If you see this pop up for Time Machine, just click on Don't Use. And click on Done, can close Disk Utility. All right, so we'll leave this mounted here, and then we'll wait until this fully downloads, and we can continue on to the next section. Okay, the download of the full installation of macOS Big Sur is complete. The next section here is that we're going to format our USB flash drive or external hard drive. The selected USB will be erased. Please back up your data. We already took care of all that first to prepare it to make sure it was ready to go for this section. It detects the drive here, and we're ready to push the button. Let's go. The first part of this is going to prompt us for an administrator password. Let's type that in here. And it's going to format the drive, and then it's going to use the create install media binary to install macOS full installer to the USB hard drive to prepare it for the installation process. It's also going to copy over OpenCore Legacy Patcher Bootloader so we can boot off of the USB hard drive. So I'm going to let this process go, and you can see the bytes written here. It'll take a little bit depending on, and if you see this, just click on Don't Use. The speed of the build process is all due to how fast your USB or your hard drive, external hard drive, is. So it could take anywhere between 15 minutes on a really quick setup, or it could take upwards of 30 to 40 minutes if you have a slower USB flash drive. So just let the process go, and when it gets to the end, we'll pick up where we left off. Okay, the macOS Big Sur installation has been created and installed to our USB drive. It gives us a pop-up that says we successfully created the installer. Click here to install OpenCore to disk. Let's click on that button, and it's immediately going to build all the settings for this particular Mac model to a temporary folder location here, and then it's going to say now that those files are created, we want to be able to put those files onto your disk to be able to build the bootloader. Let's click on Install to Disk. And it's going to say, well, which one do you want to install it on? That's the one we want. And we want to install on the EFI. Let's click on that. And we need our administrator password. And it's going to load the EFI partition. It created it, load the files, and unloaded it. And that's it. Reboot to apply. OpenCore is finished installing to your USB disk. You'll need to reboot and hold down the Option key to select OpenCore Boot EFI option to be able to begin. Would you like to reboot? And we're ready to go. All we need to do is click on Reboot and then restart. Now what we're going to do is we're going to hold down the Option key on your keyboard because we have to be able to see the boot picker screen, and then we have to be able to click Boot EFI off of the USB drive that we have plugged in. So we'll give it a second for it to reboot here. There's a chime. And there it is. What we need to do is use the arrow key or the mouse, move over to the EFI boot, but continue holding the Option key when you select it or click on the arrow here. So we'll click on the arrow. And then we need to select Install macOS Big Sur and then hit Enter or click with your mouse button. And that's it. We are booting the macOS Big Sur installer off of the USB external hard drive, and that's made possible because of the bootloader that we put on there. We're telling the installation that we are a newer Mac that is compatible, and that's how this is actually working. And we'll give it a second, and we'll be in macOS recovery. All right, we're in macOS recovery here. We'll give it a second to load the menu. Once we're here, we're booted to the macOS Big Sur installer. We have 2 options. We can perform an upgrade, which will upgrade your previous operating system, like for example, macOS High Sierra to macOS Big Sur. It retains all of your files and data and applications. But like I mentioned before, I recommend the erase and install. That will be the next section. So for this first part, I'll show you how to do the upgrade. And then if you want to do the erase and install part, just skip to the next section. So to upgrade, all we need to do is click on Install macOS Big Sur. We'll click on Continue and then Continue again and Agree. Agree again and then click on Macintosh hard drive, and then click continue. That will start the upgrade process. It will upgrade your Mac to macOS Big Sur, and then it will be on the desktop for the next part of the process. But we're going to do the erase install next, so that's what we're going to do now. Okay, we've decided to do a fresh erase and install, and this is your final warning to back up all of your data before we begin, because we are going to erase the hard drive and do a nice fresh install of macOS Big Sur to get the best experience possible. So we'll go into Disk Utility, and then we are going to click on Macintosh hard drive over here, and then we are going to click on erase. One final warning, back up all your data before we begin, because this erases your entire hard drive. So we'll click on erase, and then click on erase. Click on done and close out Disk Utility. And now we can install a fresh version of macOS Big Sur. We'll click on continue and continue, agree, and then agree again. And we want to click on our hard drive, and then we'll click continue. And that's it. It's going to install all of the files from the USB to your internal drive, reboot, and then install them at the next screen, which is going to be an Apple icon and a progress bar with a estimated time remaining. And before you know it, we'll be at the setup assistant to be able to create our account and move on to the next part. You do not need to hold down the option key. All of the next part is automated until we get to the next setup assistant window to be able to create our account in macOS Big Sur. So we'll pick up at that next part. Okay, just a quick update here. We only got about 12 minutes left. From here, there might be 1 to 3 reboots, but when it's done, it will be at the Setup Assistant window so we can create our account. Okay, we're at the Setup Assistant. I'm going to walk through this setup and create my account, and before you know it, we'll be on the desktop to start the next process. Okay, we're loading up the macOS Big Sur Desktop. Okay, give it a second here, and it's going to ask us to log in. Okay, and we'll be able to enter in our password, and then we'll be on the desktop. Okay, first thing I like to do is go up to Finder, and I like to turn on the hard drive here in the preferences for the Finder, and turn on hard disks, and then we can see our hard drive. And then I like to click on View and then sort by name. Great. So in a second or two here, OpenCore Legacy Patcher should start up and show us that we are booting off of our USB drive. So we'll give it a second to be able to pop up, and then we'll be able to continue to the next step. Great, here it is. OpenCore Legacy Patcher has detected that you are booting OpenCore from a USB or external drive. If you would like to boot your Mac normally without a USB drive plugged in, you can install OpenCore to the internal hard drive. Would you like to launch OpenCore Legacy Patcher to install to disk? And yes, we would like to do that. So let's click on OK. And then it immediately opens and builds that configuration just like we did when we did the USB. But instead of installing to the USB this time, we're going to install it to our internal hard drive so we can boot without the USB plugged in anymore. So what we're going to do now is click on Install to Disk. Now notice how you'll see some blue text here. What this tells us here is which drive the OpenCore has booted from, and it is booted from our USB drive. Once we select this internal hard drive, which is usually always disk 0, this will be blue next time. So we're going to install OpenCore to our internal hard drive here so we can boot without having to keep our USB drive plugged in anymore. So we'll click on disk 0. And we want to install it on the EFI partition. We'll see it mount here over in the corner after we type our administrator password. And there it is. It's going to install the files to the EFI partition and then unload it, and we'll be ready to reboot without our USB hard drive plugged in. And there it is. Reboot to apply. OpenCore is finished installing to disk. You'll need to reboot and hold down the option key and select OpenCore/boot EFI option. Would you like to reboot? Yes, we would. But before we do, let's unplug our USB by right-clicking and ejecting. There we go, and we can unplug it from our Mac, and then we can hit reboot. Now once we do, click on restart. Okay, now I'm going to hold down the option key here and wait until we see the boot selection screen. There's a chime. Continue holding option, And there's our EFI boot that we were looking for that's installed on the internal hard drive. Notice how it has a little SSD card here. That's a logo for the internal hard drive. So I'm continuing hold down Option. I'm going to click return or click on the arrow here. And then it's going to show the Macintosh hard drive. I can click on the control key and click on there, and we're automatically set to boot there every time we boot up our Mac from now on without the USB drive. All right, back at the login window. Let's log in. Now our OpenCore Legacy Patcher application is in our Macintosh hard drive and applications folder. And all we need to do is double click on it to open it. Now keep in mind, when the operating system first comes up, it's going to be just a tad bit slow while it indexes Spotlight and does a couple other maintenance tasks. Once about 10 to 15 minutes are up, the system should be at full speed. Now that our application is up, we can look at the settings inside here. Now, one of the things we like to do is set the Mac to not boot to the boot picker anymore. So all we need to do is go into settings, and then see how automatically the set boot picker is selected. We can turn that off, then go back to the main menu, and then click build and install OpenCore. It's going to build those settings with the new setting. We're going to click install to disk, and then we see that now the disk 0 is blue because we're booting off of it. We'll click on that, and then EFI, and then our password. Click OK. It's going to put those new settings to not show the boot picker anymore. And then reboot. Click on restart. We are not going to see the boot picker anymore. Now, if you like the boot picker, you can leave it in. You don't have to do this step. But a lot of people like their Mac to be kind of a native setup where it boots just like they're used to, where it boots, shows the Apple logo and the progress bar. And we'll show you how that looks. It will skip right over the boot picker, and there we go. Our Apple logo, and we're going to boot right into macOS Big Sur. Okay, we'll log back in. One of the nicest things about OpenCore Legacy Patcher is the fact that we can install Apple's native security updates right from the software update pane. We don't have to do anything else, use the application or anything like that. You can just go right into software update, and then you can see the new update in here as available. You can click on more info in here, and you can see the security updates you can install. So right now we need to install Safari, and we need to install the Big Sur 11.6.7. Now keep in mind, I did say that we were downloading 11.6.7 in the beginning, but I downloaded 11.6.6 so I could show you that the 11.6.7 update is available in the software update pane, so we could show you the example. Now all you need to do is click on install now. It'll download the update, restart, install the update, and before you know it, you'll be on the latest version and be fully secure on your unsupported Mac. Now, we did talk about the smaller updates, right? You have to have a Metal compatible Mac from 2012 or newer to be able to take advantage of the smaller updates. If you have to install the post volume patches, you will see a larger update, 11.49 gigabytes. And that's no big deal. It's part of the system because when you unseal the system to make modifications to the system, you need to download the full update. All you need to do is open up the app and click on Post Install Root Patch, and the next screen will tell you this Mac needs NVIDIA Tesla graphics acceleration drivers, so those have to be installed. And it'll also tell you when the last time the root volume was patched and the date. The best part is that the new versions of OpenCore Legacy Patcher are automatic and will tell you when you need to install the root patches again. Before, you had to open up the app and then do it manually. So after you install this security update, they will need to be installed again. But as soon as the system comes back up and you're on the desktop, the OpenCore Legacy Patcher application will run in the background and find that you need to install those post root patches again. And this is the message that you'll see when that happens. It'll say OpenCore Legacy Patcher has detected that you're running without root patches and would like to install them. macOS wipes all root patches during OS installs and updates, so they need to be reinstalled. The following patches have been detected on your system. Would you like to install these patches? And you click OK. The application will open up and you'll install the root patches, and that's it. All automatic, and you won't have to worry about, hey, my system is slow after installing a software update or a security update. What's going on? OpenCore Legacy Patcher is checking for you and letting you know. Let's talk about troubleshooting. If you had any issues during this process of installing OpenCore Legacy Patcher in macOS Big Sur, go to the official guide, click on Getting Started, and then on the left-hand side here, you'll see a troubleshooting section with a whole bunch of parts that will go over different things that you might have come across during the installation process. For example, how to boot to Big Sur macOS recovery, or if you have no graphics acceleration, or you can disable SIP in Recovery OS. It's all here. So if you're having issues, go to this page and you might find your problem right here. If you like the patcher and wanted to be able to support the developers, there's a supporting the patcher page here, and I'll put a link in the description for that. And wanted to put out a big thank you to all of the OpenCore Legacy Patcher developers, especially Mykola, who is the lead code developer. You have answered many of my questions over the past couple of months and years. You are absolutely fantastic, and all the developers who put together all this work on their own time as a passion project. You guys are absolutely amazing, and you know how many people you are helping with this patcher. Thank you so much. And that's my OpenCore Legacy Patcher Big Sur update video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope your installation went well. If it did, give me a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it, or a share. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, click on that subscribe button. I wanted to thank all my viewers, and especially my Patreon members. You guys are absolutely fantastic, and I really appreciate you. We'll catch you in the next video. Thanks.